Hello and welcome. We are live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Donald Trump to face first criminal trial in a hush money cover-up on March 25th. Trump calls the decision a disgrace. Yemen's Iran-backed Houthi targets multiple vessels on Thursday, including a British ship. US and British warplanes carry out retaliatory strikes across Yemen. And in cricket, Ashwin Jurel rebuild after two early jolts on day 2 of the third test against England in Rajkot. India 388 for 7 at lunch. News in detail now. In New York, a judge rejects motion to dismiss Donald Trump's hush money case. The trial is set to start on March 25th, marking the first instance where a former president faces a criminal trial. DD India's William Denslow reports from New York.
Heading into court, Donald Trump said the case against him amounted to election interference. Despite similar claims from his legal team, Judge Juan Merchan said the case will go to trial as planned on March 25th. Trump faces 34 charges relating to accusations that he falsified business documents in order to cover up hush money payments to a porn star during his 2016 bid for the White House. Justice Merchan said in his ruling that these are serious allegations in a complex investigation. If convicted, each offence could bring with it the maximum of 4 years in prison. The former president denies wrongdoing and says the 4 separate criminal cases against him are politically motivated, designed to sabotage his re-election campaign. Merchan says the trial here in Manhattan is expected to last around 6 weeks. Meanwhile, in the state of Georgia, a hearing is being held to determine whether a relationship between prosecutors constitutes a conflict of interest. District Attorney Fani Willis hired Nathan Wade to run a case against Donald Trump and 18 other individuals accused of trying to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. A witness on Thursday testified there was no doubt that Willis hired Wade after the start of their relationship. The defence argues the DA should be disqualified from the case. Such an outcome would mean the appointment of another prosecutor, who would then decide whether to continue with the case, make changes to it, or even drop it altogether. Willis says her relationship has had no bearing on the case, and that it ended back in August. William Denslow in New York, reporting for DD India.
And US presidential candidate Nikki Haley campaigns in Texas to win over deeply red state voters. Her next challenge is the South Carolina primary, where she challenges Donald Trump for the Republican nomination. DD India's Nick Harper reports from Austin, Texas.
Nikki Haley is fighting to survive. The former US ambassador to the UN wants to become the Republican nominee to take on Democratic President Joe Biden in November's presidential election. But standing in her way is the former president, Donald Trump. He's already had some big wins in some of the state nominating contests, including big wins in Iowa and New Hampshire. Next weekend, they'll face off in South Carolina, and the polls already suggest Trump has a considerable lead, potentially with as much as 65% of the state backing him, compared to about 30% for Nikki Haley. Now, there had been speculation that if she were to lose in South Carolina next Saturday, she would drop out. But the fact that she's campaigning here in Texas suggests she's in it for the long run. Texas's primary is not until March the 5th. That's Super Tuesday, when more than a dozen states across the US hold their nominating contests, including California, where she was campaigning last week. All of it suggesting she intends to stay in the race until and potentially beyond Super Tuesday, and she's trying to win over voters here in Texas. But she may be disappointed. Polls suggest that only 20% of Texans support her, compared to 80% for Donald Trump. She's hoping to prove she can be an alternative to the former president. She says she has far less chaos in her campaign compared to Donald Trump. So there's certainly tenacity in her campaign, but reality may catch up with her in the coming weeks when it becomes clear that Donald Trump has overwhelming support to become the Republican Party's nominee. Nick Harper in Austin, Texas, reporting for DD India.
And the day after US carried out 4 strikes on Houthi-held areas of Yemen, rebels fired missiles at a British ship off the country's coast on Thursday. Yemen's Iran-aligned Houthis have launched repeated drone and missile attacks against international commercial shipping in the Red Sea and the Bab el-Mandab Strait since mid-November. Their targets have been vessels with commercial ties to the United States, Britain or Israel. And after the leaders of Canada, Australia and New Zealand on Thursday called for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza, White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby said that a major operation in Rafah would be a disaster without a credible plan. Israel will press ahead with an offensive against Hamas in Rafah, the last refuge for displaced Palestinians in southern Gaza, after allowing civilians to vacate the area, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on February 14th.
We continue to believe that under the current circumstances, without a credible plan, as the President said, to account for the more than 1 million Palestinians that are down in Rafah, make sure that they have a place where they can be safe and secure and out of harm's way. Without that credible plan, a major operation in Rafah would be a disaster. We agree with that. And we're continuing to talk to our Israeli counterparts about what that plan might look like.
NATO and Ukraine will create a new analysis, training and education center in Poland. Speaking after a meeting of alliance ministers and Ukraine on Thursday, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said the center will allow Ukrainian troops to share the lessons learned from the conflict. Stoltenberg also told reporters that a group of NATO members have committed to deliver 1 million new drones to Ukraine.
A group of allies is coming together with the goal of delivering 1 million drones to Ukraine. 20 NATO allies have also agreed to form a demining coalition. All of this will help to save Ukrainian lives. Together, NATO allies account for 99% of all military aid to Ukraine. But the United States being by far the biggest ally, of course it's vital that continue to provide support, and therefore I continue to expect that they will be able to make a decision, and hopefully as soon as possible.
Meanwhile, Poland's President Andrzej Duda and Prime Minister Donald Tusk will travel to the US next month. The two leaders will meet President Joe Biden at the White House on March 12th. They are expected to discuss Russia's offensive in Ukraine and bilateral relations. Poland and Britain have appealed to the US Congress to adopt an aid package for Ukraine. Western funding is crucial for Kiev's ability to repel Russian attacks and keep its battered economy going as the conflict nears its third year. Now, American Vice President Kamala Harris is in Europe to talk defense with a number of global leaders. The VP's talks come as Washington continues to debate a major military spending package for both Ukraine and Israel. From Munich, DD India's Trent Murray reports for more.
Well, the Munich Security Conference is one of the most important gatherings for world leaders to discuss both security and defence. And certainly this year we are expecting a star-studded cast, if you will, leaders coming from near and far to discuss some of the biggest challenges in the world right now. We know the US Vice President is here, Kamala Harris. She will speak on behalf of America and the White House to other European leaders, including German Chancellor Olaf Scholz and French President Emmanuel Macron. Even Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina is here to discuss some of those challenges. And we really are tracking 3 key themes over this 3-day conference. The first is that continuing war in Ukraine, just a couple of 100 miles from where I am here in Munich East. We know President Zelensky will attend, where he is likely to continue to ask the West for more military and financial support as he continues to battle Russia in the east of his country. Of course, the conflict in Gaza also will be front and centre. We know the Israeli president will be here, as well as the Palestinian Prime Minister, and that is expected to be a session that could be quite contentious. In fact, many streets here in Munich have been shut down now, a major police operation, because they are expecting a number of protesters to come to the city over the next few days to protest against war. And then the third real important topic, I think, is what's happening in the United States with the US election. Many European leaders are quite nervous about the possibility of a second Trump presidency. What could that mean for the relationship, say, in NATO with the European Union? It's what they describe as the transatlantic relationship. And I think in many ways, Vice President Harris is trying to come here to send a message that no matter what happens at the ballot box in the US come November, the US will continue to be a major ally of European nations. Trent Murray for DD India in Munich, Germany.
And like we told you, how West continues to support Kiev, Germany and France will sign bilateral agreements on security commitments with Ukraine on Friday. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is visiting Germany on Friday, during which he will meet Chancellor Olaf Scholz in Berlin and President Frank-Walter Steinmeier. A bilateral agreement about security assurances and long-term support will be signed in the framework of these talks. Meanwhile, French President Emmanuel Macron's office said that he will reaffirm France's determination to continue to provide unwavering support for Ukraine. France plans a €200 million fund for civilian projects to be carried out by French companies. And some updates from the conflict zone now. Ukraine said it was withdrawing troops from some parts of the eastern town of Avdiivka to better positions after months of heavy fighting on Thursday. The battle-hardened reserve fighters from a crack brigade have joined the battle. Russian forces have been trying to advance on the town since October and have surrounded it on three sides, leaving limited resupply routes for the Ukrainian troops dug in there. Kiev's foothold in the town appears in fact increasingly shaky, with the supply lines threatened. Capturing Avdiivka is key to Russia's aim of securing full control of the two provinces that make up the industrial Donbass region. And the White House spokesperson John Kirby said on Thursday that the Ukrainian city of Avdiivka is at risk of falling to Russian forces, citing Ukrainian troops' lack of artillery ammunition.
Avdiivka is at risk of falling into Russian control. In very large part, this is happening because the Ukrainian forces on the ground are running out of artillery ammunition. Russia is sending wave after wave of conscript forces to attack Ukrainian positions, and because Congress has yet to pass the supplemental bill, we've not been able to provide Ukraine with the artillery shells that they desperately need to disrupt these Russian assaults. Now, Russian forces are now reaching Ukrainian trenches actually in Avdiivka, and they're beginning to overwhelm Ukrainian defenses.
And U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson said on Thursday that Russia-related national security threat is a very serious matter and needed to be addressed immediately. Johnson spoke to reporters after a briefing on Capitol Hill by White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan and other officials about Russia developing an anti-satellite capability. Listen in.
Let me give you an update. We just had an informative meeting of Jake Sullivan. This is a matter that we've known about for a few weeks. We requested a meeting with the president. We did in writing in January. It's a serious matter. Some details have leaked. There's lots of conjecture, but what we're permitted to say in an unclassified setting is that it is a very serious matter. It does involve Russia. It's not a matter that can involve delay. It's something we have to address seriously and on an immediate basis, and we are.
And the Kremlin dismissed on Thursday a warning by the United States about Moscow's new nuclear capabilities in space, calling it a malicious fabrication and a trick by the White House aimed at getting U.S. lawmakers to approve more money to counter Russia. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Washington's warning was clearly an attempt to get Congress to approve more money. Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov accused the United States of malicious fabrication. The United States has told Congress and allies in Europe about new intelligence related to Russian nuclear capabilities that could pose an international threat. U.S. officials said the issue was a Russian anti-satellite weapon that was in development not an immediate threat. Now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Cambodian entrepreneur Haskia has transformed 40 tons of discarded plastic bottles into broomsticks since March last year using bamboo sticks and plastic bottles. The broomsticks are ideal for high-intensity scrubbing and are sold in Phnom Penh and other provinces. Kia sources materials from trash collectors and garbage depots. Fuji City in Shizuoka experienced temperatures reaching 16 degrees Celsius on Tuesday and Wednesday, reaching late March. Iwamo Tayama Park, home to about 300 trees of 30 plum flowers, hosted early bloomers including Mount Fuji, which was visible under clear blue skies. The plum blossom viewing season continues until early March. Alright, we'll slip into a very short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India Live. White House reacts on attacks against Indian students in US, says there is no excuse for violence. To further deepen financial connectivity, India and Nepal collaborate in linking their fast payment systems through the UPI NPI. And we show you how Indian philanthropist is transforming the lives of elderly residents while uplifting communities in Uganda.
That never stops, where information shapes our reality. One app stands out, helps you stay ahead of time. Introducing the DD India app, your gateway to a world of news right at your fingertips. Your most trusted source of news goes global, goes digital. Explore a world of options, top stories, live updates, in-depth analysis, and more. Stay informed wherever you are. Real-time alerts keep you ahead of the curve always. The DD India app, connecting you to the world one story at a time. Download now and explore the world of knowledge, insights, and authentic information. Wherever news breaks, whatever it takes.
Connecting corners, cutting across continents.
Stories that matter from across the globe.
Accurate, authentic journalism that serves you right. From politics to glamour, from sports to world affairs, with a fusion of aesthetics and substance. Introducing news in a new avatar. Experience the world through a new lens. Stay tuned to DD India for an exciting journey beyond borders.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. A political stalemate in Pakistan still continues after an inconclusive election ended with Shehbaz Sharif chosen to lead the country again, while efforts were underway to get the second largest party to join the government to ensure stability. The new government could also face new political tensions with independent members of parliament backed by jailed former Premier Imran Khan forming the largest group in the legislature. The new coalition government of Pakistan will face challenges on many fronts as the country is grappling with an economic crisis amid slow growth and record inflation along with rising militant violence. Meanwhile, in the midst of political uncertainties, protesters gathered in Quetta for a sit-in on Wednesday against election results. Several members of Baloch, Pashtun and Hazara nationalist parties of the province protested in front of the office of the district returning officer. And in the midst of political uncertainties in Pakistan, the United States is concerned about reports of intimidation and voter suppression in Pakistan's election. Questions have been raised about the fairness of the February 8 election, both inside Pakistan as well as in major foreign capitals, with Washington having previously said there were undue restrictions on freedoms of expressions and assembly.
We're concerned, and we share concerns about some of the reports that we've heard coming out of Pakistan in terms of intimidation, voter suppression, that kind of thing. And so we're watching this very, very closely. And as I understand it, votes are still being tallied, so international monitors are still taking a look at those tallies. I'm not going to get ahead of that process.
And the White House strongly denounced violence on factors like race or gender, categorizing such behaviors across the country. Responding to a question about recent attacks on Indian students in the US, spokesperson John Kirby said that just unacceptable. The president and his administration has been monitoring the situation and working with the state and local authorities to thwart and disrupt those kind of incidents. The statement comes in the wake of a sudden surge in attacks on Indian students in the United States.
No excuse for violence, certainly based on race or gender or religion or any other factor. That's just unacceptable here in the United States. And the president, this administration, has been working very, very hard to make sure we're doing everything we can to work with state and local authorities to try to thwart and disrupt those kinds of attacks and make it clear to anybody who might consider them that they'll be held properly accountable.
The central banks of India and Nepal on Thursday signed terms of reference for the integration of the United Payments Interface and National Payments Interface. The Reserve Bank of India and Nepal, Rashtra Bank, signed the terms of reference. The integration is aimed at facilitating cross-border remittances between India and Nepal by enabling users of the two systems to make instant, low-cost fund transfers. The collaboration between India and Nepal in linking their fast payment systems through the UPI NPI linkage will further deepen financial connectivity and reinforce the enduring historical, cultural and economic ties between the two countries. And India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated multiple development projects worth over $2 billion in western state of Rajasthan today. He addressed the Viksit Bharat Viksit Rajasthan program on Friday via video conferencing. He inaugurated various national highway projects worth over $602 million and 8 railway projects of Rajasthan worth over $277 million. PM Modi also laid foundation stone of solar projects worth around $638 million and other multiple projects worth $289 million under Jal Jeevan Mission. Prime Minister said these development projects are going to provide employment to the youth of Rajasthan.
आज राजस्थान के विकास के लिए करीब 17,000 करोड़ रुपए के प्रोजेक्ट्स का शिलान्यास और लोकार्पण हुआ है। ये प्रोजेक्ट रेल, रोड, सौर ऊर्जा, पानी और एलपीजी जैसे विकास कार्यक्रमों से जुड़े हैं। ये परियोजनाएं राजस्थान के हजारों युवाओं को रोजगार देने वाली हैं।
Later, PM Modi will visit Rewari in the Indian state of Haryana on Friday. PM Modi will inaugurate multiple development projects worth over $1.1 billion, including urban transport, health, rail and tourism sector. PM Modi will lay foundation stone of Gurugram Metro Rail project worth about $656 million. Foundation stone of All India Institute of Medical Sciences, AIIMS in Haryana, is also being laid under Pradhan Mantri Swasthya Suraksha Yojana. He will inaugurate a newly built experiential museum in Kurukshetra built at a cost of around $30 million. Prime Minister Modi will also lay the foundation stone and dedicate to the nation multiple railway projects in Haryana. Indian Army Chief General Manoj Pandey, during his official visit to US, visited the headquarters 1 Corps of US Army. During his visit, he was briefed about the Striker Unit, Multi-Domain Task Force and the Special Forces Group by the US Army officials. The visit to the Specialist Unit aims to explore avenues for more significant training engagements. Indian Army Chief is on a 4-day official visit to the US. And in Uganda, an Indian philanthropist is transforming the lives of elderly residents while uplifting communities. Led by Juhi Barrett, the Leela Foundation Uganda is providing essential support to the seniors. Let's take a look at DD India's correspondent Leon Sesanyange's report.
Thank you.
Bye, Jaja. See you.
Bye.
Happier than before, 80-year-old Joyce Zawede doesn't always have something to keep her going.
Sometimes I do not have food to eat. We also do not have people to help us. This is very helpful.
Philanthropist Johi Parod, a Ugandan of Indian origin, is behind the initiative to see life here for the elderly change.
You learn to share when you see people sharing. So us, we have learned to give because we've seen our parents giving. And not giving in a way that you're doing someone a favor, no.
According to national statistics, there are close to 4 million elderly people aged 60 years and above living in Uganda. Many of the elderly people living in these slums do not have much access to basics. With no work and income, there is little or nothing to help them get by. Recent research revealed that 2 out of 3 elderly people are caring for young children, while only 1 in 5 elder persons can access credit.
The number of older persons through the improvement of life is increasing. So the problems are also increasing. The challenges are increasing.
Through Juhi and her privately funded Leela Foundation, there is a lease of life for elderly people and children as well. The foundation's name is derived from the Indian word Leela, which means beauty. Over 10,000 people have benefited nationwide.
This happiness that we're trying to spread, we want it to be like a disease. We want it to stay forever. And we want that contagious smile to remain at the back of their heads.
For Zawede and the thousands of other elderly people, this is a time to cherish the joyous moments with the hand that keeps giving. Leon Sanyange in Kampala, Uganda, reporting for DD India.
Now let's take a look at other stories making news today. At least 11 people have died in the fire that broke out at a paint factory in Alipur Market, Delhi. The Delhi Fire Service reached the spot and controlled the fire. A search operation is underway for the missing person at the site. The cause of the fire is still unknown. The fire that broke out in the paint warehouse and spread to a number of other buildings, Delhi police have registered a case of culpable homicide against the owner of the paint factory. Due to the ongoing farmers' protests, long traffic jams were seen on Friday at the Delhi-Ghaziabad border. The authorities have put in place security checks to ensure law and order. Delhi police have also enforced Section 144 restricting entry of tractor trolleys and large assemblies around the India's capital. All right, sports updates now. We'll start with cricket. Ravichandran Ashwin and debutant Dhruv Jurel rebuilt the Indian innings after England snapped up 2 early wickets on day 2 of the 3rd test against England in Rajkot. According to latest reports, India were 399 for 7. England started off well by dismissing night watchman Kuldeep Yadav and centurion Ravindra Jadeja quickly. Jimmy Anderson and Mark Wood bowled well, with the former getting Kuldeep out with a good delivery and Jadeja chipped one back to Joe Root. England would have envisaged hopes of bowling India out under 350 when they got 2 quick wickets, but it was not to be. Jurel and Ashwin prevented England from making further inroads. Once the ball got soft, batting got easier. India are now 400 for 7. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly Twitter and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.